So specifically in this video, what we're really going to talk about is how do you speak with influence? What are some different ways that as you're speaking on video or maybe you're speaking on stage, how do you switch up? How do you switch up how you're speaking to people and communicating? Because it's not just the words and the knowledge that you have in your head. It's also about how do you really keep them engaged the entire time. That's how I get people watching the end of my videos. That's how I get people to stay awake during my speeches, right? That's how you do that. So so that's really what we're going to be talking about. All right, kind of start this at the top, and then we're going to say speaking. We're going to say speaking with. We're going to say speaking with influence. Boom, right? Cool. All right, so let's kind of list out. What are some of the things that's going to be able to help you speak, like just become a better speaker overall, right? So you have the knowledge in your head, right? You can just stay on stage or in front of camera and say, yes, and you can do this and you can accomplish this if you want to have better habits, and I am a life coach, right? So you could be the smartest person in the world, but remember when I talked about Mr. Basil earlier, my old teacher, people are not going to pay attention to you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what are some of the ways that you can start being more influential as you speak. And this is going to help people take the action that you want them to take. And that is what I just did. I'm going to tell you what that was. Kind of just start from the top. So number one, when you're speaking, one of the things I want you to be conscious of is speaking fast. And speaking fast intentionally. There's certain, when I'm having conversations or I'm speaking on video or I'm speaking on a stage or in front of people, I'm intentional and I know when I'm speaking faster. And sometimes I'm speaking faster on purpose just to kind of switch things up. And sometimes it depends on the audience you're speaking to too, right? Like if you're in an audience where more people speak a little bit slower, like maybe, that don't mean you slow, by the way. That just because you speak slower don't mean slow, but you speaking fast. But like, especially like if you're in New York or if you're in certain parts of the world, you might be speaking and this pace is a little bit faster. So if you don't keep up with the pace that people are used to listening to, they're gonna get bored and be like, yo, like what's going on, right? So you want to speak faster, right? Just like when you think about songs, when things you got certain pace, certain times and the pace is fast, and certain times where it's not as fast, right? So so there's certain times if I'm speaking, and I'll actually show you an example of what some of this stuff look like. But if I'm speaking, right, and I'm saying, and I'm saying, hey, and you got to get up, because if you want to be the best that you can be, then you need to go out, make it happen, do your thing. And if you don't do it, it is going to be on you. And it is your responsibility for you to make that happen. People are like, yo, like, okay, I'm listening, right? So that's key. That's key in terms of getting people to, really, really feel what you're saying. Does that make sense? All right. So that's number one that you can use. So be conscious about this stuff. Another tonality that you can use is slow it down, right? It's slower. I'm not gonna say slow, but you can say slower, right? So now instead of talking too fast and saying, yo, this is what you want to do and this is how you go, then you slow it down. So there's certain times when I want to make sure people understand what I'm saying, then I would slow down my pace, similar to how I'm doing it right now. Because when you're able to really hear me and understand what I'm saying, it's easier for you to absorb it. Does that make sense? Sometimes I might speak a little bit faster because I want to instill you with a certain amount of energy. You know what I mean? So when you start speaking, when you use the speech and you speak a little bit slower, that's typically you have people a little bit more in their thoughts, right? This is good when you have people who, like, when you want people to really absorb what you're saying. Speaking faster is you want people to feel that energy and feel hype, like, let's go, right? All right, so another tonality, another one that you can use and have this in your tool belt or your arsenal is what we call emphasis. I love emphasis, and I do this all the time, literally all the time, to where you're speaking and you emphasize certain things, right? And you say, listen, if you want to go to that next level in your life, see what I'm saying? Then I suggest you pay attention to the next thing I'm about to say. Right? You heard that. You're like, oh, wait, hold up. You're like, what's going on here? Right? Like let me, you're gonna start seeing people perk up in their seat, like, hold on, let me see what my man gotta say, or let me see what she gotta say, right? And basically the key to emphasizing is really like putting that power or energy behind the words that you're saying and then pause it. Like what I just did, right? Makes sense, right? So, and of course, when you hear it, because think about it like this: when people are speaking, or when you're speaking, people are processing what you're saying. So that's why you can't just keep the same kind of tone, because it drowns it out. But when you emphasize certain things, another thing you're gonna start doing is you're gonna start seeing people writing notes. Like soon as like when you emphasize something, like listen, if you want to really take your business to that next level, then what you want to do is make sure that you invest in yourself. Number 4 is I want you to tell a secret, right? So this is, I mean, we all know this one. We've heard this before, you know, like listen, if you really want to take your business, if you really want to take your life to the next level, listen to what I'm saying. You gotta put in the work. And if you do that, people are like, ooh, right? Or maybe you do it as you're telling a story. Because anytime people love to be nosy, or people love like knowing something that most people don't know. Another one that you can use is a caring, right? Right. And by the way, speaking of influence, and these are like, you know, this is like really like tone, really like tone and pace, right? So caring is when you're speaking with people, your goal is like also try to be caring sometimes, like, because you know a lot of times we watch like an ET, the hip hop preacher, or we watch like a Gary V, and we watch some of these influencers, and we think that that's how we have to be, or that's how we have to mimic it, because they're a little bit more in your face, right? They're a little bit more, you know, they're a little bit more like have energy. They speak a little bit faster. They have a little bit more emphasis, a little bit more power behind what they say. But sometimes you just got to be caring. Sometimes you just got to say, you know, if you really want to go to the next level in your life, you got to get around the right people. Like it's who you hang around that is really going to make the difference. And you're going to feel so much better about yourself. You're going to have less stress. You're going to feel happier waking up in the day. You're just going to be a better person, right? And, you know, just understand that, you know, it's who you hang around. And when you have that tonality with people, I'm like, yo, you're going to start noticing. When I started doing that, people, I get all the time, and it's how I really feel. But a lot of times, like, people will be like, yo, like, I can tell that you really care. I can tell that you really want my best interests at heart. And obviously I do, right? But when you come across that way in your videos, and when you're speaking to people, even one-on-one, or you're speaking to people on stage, they really feel like you care. Number 6 is, what's so funny is I like talking about accents, right? So what's interesting about accents is that you make it just makes what you're saying more interesting. But there's literally too many examples for me to go over. But like you can do like the opposite, you know, like the opposite gender, right? You know, so you do the opposite gender. So, you know, if you a guy, you know, it's interesting if you do a girl accent, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I was talking to one of my, you could say, you know, I was talking to somebody I was mentoring, and she was like, you know, yeah, Terrell, because I was trying to figure out, like, what do I need to do? You know what I'm saying? Or, or right, like my wife likes to do accents of me all the time, right? But maybe, like, you know, if you a female or woman, you could do a guy accent and be like, you know, yo, and you know, one of my clients came up to me, was like, yo, I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. You know, I just keep overthinking this thing, man, and I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? And it just makes what you have more interesting. Or you can have somebody who's like, you know, I really tried to give my all doing it, and I gave every single dollar I had to try to be successful. Mama, I love you. Right? Right. And with that, this is an exercise. The exercise is, I want you to find 8th grade vocabulary words. Right? I want you to find 8th grade vocabulary words, and I want you to do what we call extemporaneous speaking, meaning you're going to find these words, and then I want you to speak using these words. I want you to do a 1 minute speech on, and this is good for like video, because we're going to jump into video in like 2 seconds, but this is a good way to just get better, because I get questions all the time. Well, how do I become a better speaker? Well, part of it is you have to speak on the fly, because especially as you're going to be in this industry, you got to be able to talk on the fly.